There we go. I think we're recording. I think it's happening. All right, everyone. Hello and welcome to this installment of SEO Grail, our continuing video series. This week, we have Alexis Sanfiorenzo here with you. She is a coordinator at Elite SEM in SEO. I am your host for the evening. I'm John Lister. I'm a strategist in SEO. We're also working for Elite SEM. Alexis, welcome.
Hello.
Welcome to the program. This is the video version of a talk we had you present to the larger group earlier in December. Now we're back after the holidays to give everyone who requested the video portion. We just had to get through the vacation, you know. So let's start with kind of who you are.
Cool. So I'm Alexis Sanfiorenzo. I am an account coordinator on the SEO team at Elite SEM, like John said. So in the past, I've worked across both content and technical elements of SEO. Most of my experience is in the pharma space. That's what I did before coming to Elite. But basically, I just really like learning the ins and outs of the different industries I encounter with my diverse client list here at Elite SEM.
And what are we going to talk about today?
So today we're going to talk about conversational AI and voice search. Getting into it a little more specifically here. So what is conversational AI? Why is it important? Some of the differences between conversational AI and voice search. Every day, artificial intelligence that we might come across that we don't really notice, and then how to optimize for these intelligent agents.
Awesome. All right, so what is it? Help.
So conversational artificial intelligence, or AI, automates communication and creates personalized experiences for consumers. And they do this through the use of messaging apps, speech-based assistants, and chatbots. Conversational AI apps help to enable long-running interactions with customers through text or voice, using the most intuitive interface available, which is natural language. And we'll get more into the specifics of that later.
So if I'm on an e-commerce site and a help, can I help you chatbot comes up, that's a conversational AI sort of use.
Yep, exactly.
Got it.
Cool. So the real power of conversational AI lies within its capabilities to do the following. It can process and transcribe human speech into text. It then analyzes that text to detect queries as it connects to its own external data sources, which are comparable to search engines. And then it'll seek out relevant information, and then it'll translate all that data into digestible content that then fulfills the user's intent. Conversational AIs can also carry out highly personalized interactions with humans and fundamentally transform an organization by providing more ways of communicating with their customers either around the clock, and it can also help them to boost their customer service and trust among audiences by being available to them whenever they need.
So it's almost like how good of a facsimile of a human is it, like right now?
I can't read your brain yet, but it's getting close.
Got it. So
now we can get into some general voice search statistics. So it's no surprise that younger people prefer messaging over any form of communication. And today's consumers really expect to be able to communicate with businesses via chat platforms using either text or voice, just the same way they do with their friends and family. I know for myself, at least, me and my boyfriend always fight over who's going to pick up the phone and call to ask someone something. So it eliminates the need for those little arguments.
Well, it's a friction component now too. The expectation isn't that you run into a human or an actual person to speak to. And if you are going to, there's a lot of anxiety, I think, in the modern consumer around that interaction.
Yeah, definitely. Totally agree. Cool. So jumping into some statistics here, according to ComScore, it's predicted that 50% of all searches will be voice searches by 2020, which is now only a year away. According to VoiceBot.ai, over 1 billion devices provide voice assistant access today, which is a lot if you think about it. And the leaders here of the pack being Google Assistant and Apple Siri, then followed by Amazon Alexa and Microsoft Cortana.
Which is sort of interesting in and of itself, right? That because Amazon Alexa, you would think that that has the most sort of e-commerce potential behind it, and it's not quite there yet.
Yeah, definitely. The most interesting stat here that I thought at least was that 30% of all searches will be done without a screen by next year. So I guess we can wait and see if that happens since it's so close.
Well, I think it very interesting, right? Because a lot of, it's increased by about 20% from 2016 to 2018, the percentage of no-click search results on mobile. Mm-hmm. So it's almost like if Google is sort of conditioning people, first we start and they don't need to click on anything, just read. And now it'll be a very easy bridge for them to take. You don't have to read, you don't even have to look, just trust what we give you.
Just listen.
Just listen. Just use your ears.
Just follow my voice. Cool. So if those statistics didn't convince you, maybe these will. Jumping into a little bit bigger numbers here. So voice shopping itself is expected to jump to $40 billion in 2022, which is up from just $2 billion today. And the number of household smartphone speakers or smart speakers is expected to rise to 55% by 2022, which is up from just 13% from last year. That's a huge jump. So I know that a lot of houses, at least that are being built up around me, are already getting like the smart home feel installed before you buy them. So I don't doubt it.
Sure. I mean, this is sort of shaping into be a feature that consumers don't need to opt into. There's no active choice, like I'm going to have a smart home or I'm going to have smart features enabled in my home. Now that capability is going to be just sort of a standard feature of homes, just like, you know, the evolution of vehicles where power steering never was a thing and now it's a standard feature and, you know, kind of so on.
Exactly.
Got it.
So something really cool here is that Bing actually has been the first to adopt a chatbot feature, and they did so back in May of 2017. Basically, all you have to do is run a search, such as travel bots, and you can download relevant bots directly from the Bing search results page to your favorite messaging platforms. So, for example, Skype or Facebook Messenger or even Slack. And the really cool and intuitive thing here is that chatbots on Bing can even help you to plan out a dinner. So now when you search many of people's favorite restaurants, they have bots that you can chat with to learn things, to, such as if they have like a vegan menu, gluten-free menu, where you can park if they're located in the city, or if they accept certain credit cards. And this information is not always readily or easily findable on their website. So that's a really great perk for those restaurants to have. Something to keep in mind here, though, is that this exact feature did start in Seattle, so it's more centralized to the West Coast for now, but it is slowly rolling out across the U.S.
Got it. Yeah, not exactly a shock that the Pacific Northwest would be where features for Bing sort of start to get enabled first, right?
Yeah. Cool. So now let's jump into some of the differences between voice search and conversational AI. Starting with voice search basics here. So voice search really isn't that revolutionary. Basically, there's 3 ways that people can engage with a search engine, either through text, images, or voice. Voice search essentially involves just doing a query with your voice instead of a text. And then it uses the search engine to directly answer your voice query. So again, not that revolutionary. You're just talking instead of typing.
Right. And functionally, there's really no difference in the search results here. I mean, Google, if you're using Google now, you may get that voice response, via a rich result powered sort of thing, or you might not, right?
Yeah.
Either or.
So moving into conversational AI here. So this is the voice assistance component of voice search. So it uses the AI-based technology of natural language to then enable voice search. So the voice assistant is essentially using your voice to engage with some sort of intelligent technology like a digital assistant or a chatbot. And then it will either answer your query, or if it's confused, it can even ask you questions back to get more clarity surrounding your query. If it's Bluetooth connected to other devices, it can also control other technologies that it might be synced with. So that's pretty revolutionary and cool to me, way cooler than just voice search, but to each their own. So let's jump into some artificial intelligence types that we encounter every day and we might not even notice. So there's a lot of types that we encounter every day, but I'm going to go with ones that are more well-known that you might not know the official names of. So the first type here is limited memory AI. So this depends on both pre-programmed knowledge and observations carried out over time. So this type of AI will look at certain things within an environment and detect how they change, and then it will also make its necessary adjustments to adapt to its surroundings. So we mainly see this being used in self-driving cars. The second type that we encounter daily is artificial narrow intelligence, or ANI. And this specifically can identify patterns and correlations from data more efficiently than humans. And it can also help users to respond to their problems on request. So we see this most commonly being used for customer engagements, and it's found in smartphones through the use of Siri, for example. And it's also used to fuel Google's RankBrain.
The machine learning components of search engine algorithms, basically.
Yes, exactly.
Got it. So how do we do this?
So basically with jump into how we can adapt. Since intelligent agents are getting their information primarily from search engines, this means that your SEO strategy really needs to take the lead for voice discovery. And there's a lot of moving parts that go into optimizing for intelligent agents. So we're just going to focus on a handful today. But regardless of your voice search's impact on your business, you really need to consider the different intentional channels that your customers use to find out information about your products or your services. And holistic SEO is really crucial in doing this because as the intelligent agents get to know consumers better, they'll start to learn their preferred brands. And this will start to weed out the possibility of an intelligent agent ever even suggesting your brand to certain consumers, because over time it's conditioned to only choose brands that it knows the customer has an affinity for. Since conversational AIs are constantly collecting and storing data about their person, obviously it's going to be super personalized, any of the recommendations that they give. So you really need to make sure that you do position yourself as your target audience's brand of choice and become a valuable source of information on all levels for them. So SEO really needs to integrate with existing online marketing campaigns, PR teams, and web developers in order to maintain the health of your website and also focus on optimizing your brand as a whole. This can help to boost your chances of being one of the various sources that an intelligent agent may be pulling a lot of information from. So we want to make sure here that we are focusing on improving mobile usability, maintaining social profiles, optimizing for Wikipedia or Wikidata pages, and also providing quality content to consumers.
Sure. I'm wondering if you could speak to more like that last bullet, because every time somebody sees quality content, the first thing they ask is, like, what is that? You know, and a lot of old SEO tactics is really centered around, you know, mashing the keyword and repeating it. But I'd say the game is a little bit different, you know, now. What can you comment on that for us?
No, yeah, it definitely is. So we will be jumping into this a little more in depth coming up here. But again, that natural language is key here. And definitely you don't want to keyword stuff anymore.
Got it.
Cool. So jumping into mobile usability here. Mobile-friendly sites are becoming more important than ever, especially due to that July 2018 mobile page speed update, and with Google now rolling out its mobile first index. You want to make sure that your sites are mobile optimized and not just mobile friendly. The difference here would be mobile friendly sites might have a responsive web design, where a mobile optimized site is specifically designed for smartphones. So you also want to make sure that your page speed is up to par. As you can see here, when a set of users were asked, what do you dislike the most when browsing the web on your mobile device? Almost half said waiting for pages to load. No one wants to sit there and wait for something to load. I know myself, if it doesn't load in like a second, I'm already like, come on. So you definitely want to focus on that.
Sure. Yeah, I think you're the extra impatient consumer. I think the data now, it used to be 3 seconds and everything after is diminishing returns. More recent data suggests maybe 2 seconds now. We're growing more and more impatient, and Google isn't exactly caught up yet. They're still, at least until about 2020, going to be on that 3G connection for mobile connectivity. Googlebot runs a version of Chrome that's in the 40s, give or take, like 41, I think is what Chrome runs.
Yeah.
And this is over the backdrop of 5G starting to happen, starting to be a thing. It may not be a widespread thing until 2022. But the consumer and the consumer's access to devices that are fast and fast connections is growing at a rate that outpaces the search engine. So when we talk about mobile usability and mobile optimization, you have to be thinking about, hey, how fast does this web page load on a mobile device, on a 3G connection, on an old version of Chrome? That might be your best indicator of how a search engine is going to contact that site. And then when we talk about mobile usability, and this is a classic example where people didn't take the top level nav. I'm sure you are too, working with clients who had a really massive nav for their desktop, and now their mobile site didn't have as many links. And now you need that internal linking on your mobile device to a certain extent to help.
Yeah.
What else we got? Social profiles.
Oh, cool. So you may not realize how important maintaining your social media profiles are for growing your business and getting consumers to convert. But with close to half of the world's population on some type of social media, and almost each day that number of social media users increasing, why would you ever want to miss out on the opportunity that large? So according to Disruptive Advertising's 2018 social media statistics, 64% of online shoppers said that a video on social media helped them decide on a product to buy. Now that's almost half of online consumers, and they're making a decision to buy something from your site just from a social media video. It's a pretty crazy statistic if you ask me. So to up your social media marketing efforts, you really want to focus on which channels you choose. So this will depend entirely on your target audience, so it's not going to be the same for everyone. You also want to make sure that your tone is consistent and friendly, and that it suits the side of your business that you're trying to represent. You don't want to be sassy unless that's your brand thing, to people who are just trying to buy your stuff. You also want to make sure that you have a clear content strategy. This is really key here to a brand success on social media, because users are all too willing to unfollow brands if it's not highly targeted to something they want to see or something that they're interested in. Cool. Moving into Wikipedia and Wikidata. So ensuring that your brand has a built-out Wikipedia page is important because it can help to increase your brand visibility overall, and it can also help here to boost your authority. So these pages also help to fuel Google's knowledge graph, which helps users to see the correct information that's being pulled through. So you want to make sure that you are building these profiles out and that they have the correct content, because content and information on your business might not always be the same everywhere online. So you want to make sure that these sources do have correct information and that it's being updated pretty regularly, at least when information about your business changes, so that that knowledge graph can pull through the correct information for users. And you also want to make sure that your Wikipedia is built out because it's kind of seen as less successful for you if a lot of your competitors have a built out profile and you don't really have anything on yours. Someone might be like, oh, why don't they have anything? So you want to make sure that you are looking at this holistically again, and you're giving information to both users and the search engine when needed.
But how do I get one?
Get one what?
How do I do? How do I get one what? How do I do? If I'm a brand sort of starting out, what are the steps that I need? Because you can't just sort of roll up and get a Wikipedia page. What are the steps that I need to take to even make myself part of the conversation enough to be worthy enough of getting that page? What do I have to do to start?
So I know that appointed Wikipedia editors are the ones who can go in and edit accounts. You want to make sure that when you are creating content, you have reliable sources. The newer, the better, and you don't ever want to source yourself because if you're just talking about yourself and referencing yourself, it's going to look a little weird. But yeah, you have to make sure that you have a Wikipedia editor. I'm not exactly sure the steps on becoming one, sure, but that is the safest bet to update profiles.
Yeah, it's the biggest issue I think people have kind of encountered is the noteworthy clause for Wikipedia. That's basically, for everyone who may not know, is the "Are you famous enough" clause for Wikipedia, where if you find yourself as a brand only able to use press releases for your authoritative sources, or you find yourself using your own website a lot, that's usually indicative that maybe you haven't been generating the kind of public relations buzz that's sort of necessary to build your brand as a disambiguated entity. And that's fundamentally what we're after here when we're talking about Wikipedia and Wikidata. It's about disambiguating the query. So Google and people know your brand as X, and it's associated with X things, products and emotions and movements, causes, what have you. You want to be associated very closely. That helps, I would imagine, an intelligent AI if Google can disambiguate, and then Google Assistant can disambiguate.
Definitely, yes. So. Exactly.
Exactly.
Cool. So now moving into featured snippets here. These are very important for voice search and conversational AI. So featured snippets are selected search results that are featured on top of Google's organic results. I'm sure you've seen them all, also known as quick answers. Give you a very quick answer to what you're looking for most of the time. So featured snippets are important here because they are what is fueling these artificial intelligent responses. So being a page 1 or top 5, even top 3 result really isn't what it used to be. becoming a featured snippet is more important than ever because that is the result that is being shared with consumers when they are using these types of digital assistants. So according to research by Ahrefs, 99.58% of featured snippets already rank in the top 10 of Google. So if you're already ranking high for a related search query, you have a very good chance of getting featured. It's also known that 70% of featured snippets came from sites outside of the first organic position. So this is really nice here because you don't need to be number one to be eligible to earn a featured snippet. As long as you have quality content that addresses the searcher's intent, what they're looking for, you can get featured, which is great. So you don't need to be number one, you just need to be page one.
That's I think this is not just conversational AI, right? This steals a bit of the click-through rate for right?
Yep.
You're losing 8% from the number one results, even if you're number one and there's a rich result, featured snippet, what have you. That snippet is getting 8% of your what would traditionally be about 33% of the click-through. So you're down in the mid-20s at that point. So you're very invested in trying to get whatever that back you can.
Yeah. So little getting into some specifics here, high level. Optimizing for featured snippets here. So we know that featured snippets fuel the voice search responses. And there's really no magic button or a special markup that will make your site get featured. But you should start with general SEO best practices simply because being featured, again, is only possible if you rank high already for that query, which means that you need to be providing quality content. So starting with those general SEO best practices, this includes ensuring that your site is technically sound so that your content is findable, focusing on optimizing towards specific related keywords to your brand, not just random keywords you like. And you have to make sure that your on-page content assures that your site is relevant to the queries that you've been targeting. So with that being said, the best way to get featured is to provide a better answer, essentially. So a few actionable tips here that you can take. Identify what questions users are asking already. Type in a query related to your space and then refer to the people always ask section. That's a great place to start. 2, you want to aim at answering each of your target questions concisely. According to SEMrush, the most common length of a featured snippet is only between 40 to 50 words. Now, this doesn't mean that your articles need to be 1 paragraph long. Google actually prefers long-form content that's broken out into logical subsections, which we'll get into organization for your content in a bit. In their research of featured snippets, Ahrefs found that once a page gets featured, it's likely to get featured again and again for lots of similar queries. So this means that your content should be structured and worded in a way so that it addresses a lot of related questions at once, meaning you don't need to create a separate page for each specific question. You want to structure your content by utilizing target keywords from broad to specific within the page's elements. For example, utilizing your header tags can make it an H1 to H3, since they hold the most SEO value. Make those your questions that you're targeting, and then underneath answer it concisely with exactly what you want to say first in a short paragraph, and then elaborate afterwards. This is also known as Q&A format, very featured snippet friendly. And a bonus here, organizing your content. If you're able to use comparison charts or lists, either numbered or bulleted, they are kind of considered an easier way to get a featured snippet because we all know that Google loves structured content, so they favor that a little bit more.
Got it.
Now, jumping into that quality content keyword stuffing part from earlier. So majority of all searches on the Google Assistant are in natural language. So our SEO strategy really needs to recognize this tendency. And thanks to RankBrain's machine learning AI, search engines have evolved, and so has their ability to understand natural language patterns and the intent behind queries. So this moves them away from keyword matching and closer to conversation having. Searcher intent plays into Google's goal to solve a query as quickly as possible. So each particular query has a goal and a set of applicable results that will solve that query. And we see Google trying to do this with featured snippets, as we just discussed. This means that you want to snag more featured snippets and help searchers using digital assistants. You really want to make sure that you're building out content that uses long tail, natural sounding keyword lists. As you can see here from this graph from Stat, it's the relationship between keyword length and snippet appearance. And as you can see, they are both going up. So long tail keywords generally run from 3 to 5 words in length, and they are generally more specific than a standard keyword. They also provide businesses with an excellent opportunity to snag a high Google ranking for certain queries. Over the last 2 years, there has been an increase in the number of words in a query that surfaces a featured snippet. So again, those long tail keywords are your best bet. You want to make sure that you are including those throughout your content, and that your content sounds really natural. Nothing is forced. You're using different variances of keywords, natural language, and you are answering the user's intent.
I love this chart so much because I think everybody's had that client experience, or even a request from on high kind of comes down and says, I want to rank number 1 for shoes, right? And now what this is really sort of showing us is the searcher is getting much more sophisticated and much more expectant of personalization, right? Love it. Love it.
You can have it for $10. So now let's move into a little bit more of the technical side away from content here. So structured data markup. This is a coding language that you can add to your HTML that helps search engines understand the context of the content on your site. For example, it'll help a search engine understand the context of the word orange. Are you using it in terms of the county, the color, or the fruit? So structured data can be used to mark up all kinds of items, from products to events to recipes. You just need to go to schema.org and get the full list of items and properties within it, and then choose those that are most relevant to your page's content. Once you create your markup in either HTML or JSON LD format, you can run it through Google's structured data testing tool and ensure that it validates. And then when it comes time to implementing, you want to make sure that it is placed in the head section of your code. There's no conclusive evidence that this markup improves rankings, but there are some indications that search results with more extensive rich snippets, like those created using schema, will have a higher increase or a higher click-through rate. Schema is one of those things that, while Google has never said that is a direct ranking factor, they've sort of hinted around the edges to sort of say this is an indicator for ranking, right? Which, what does that even mean? But one thing that it can really do is when it schema generates rich snippets, that is those star reviews, the product markup, those things, we know that generates click-through rate boosts, and Google is paying attention more and more to click-through rate. So it's generally helpful there. And then there's a host of kind of item type libraries that you can use to help Google understand. Now Bing a little bit more. Bing, I think, just started. Yeah. Bing just started using structured data this year. It's 2019. Q4. Q4, did I forget? Like it's
You know, they've just kind of very recently started to use JSON to use structured data more and more. JSON is sort of the best practice for this now. So it helps if you have a savvy SEO person on hand who can code that type of JavaScript. I think anybody worth their salt should be able to do it.
Agreed.
Agreed.
So now that we know that as conversational AI grows, the search engine gets less investigative. Again, they're just picking that featured snippet. And since smart speakers aren't linked to a screen or display of any kind, users only receive a verbal response to voice searches, which brings us to the new speakable schema markup. Currently, adding this markup allows search engines and other applications to identify content to read aloud on Google Assistant enabled devices using text-to-speech. This is currently in beta, so it is subject to change, but it's pretty cool for now, like how they're testing it out. Basically how it works, the Google Assistant uses speakable structured data to answer topical news queries at the moment only. On smart speaker devices. So when a user asks for news about a specific topic, the Google Assistant returns up to 3 articles and supports audio playback using text-to-speech for sections in the article that have been marked up with this speakable structured data. When the Google Assistant reads aloud your speakable section, it attributes the source and it will send the full article URL to the user's mobile device.
Google actually giving credit for
right, not taking it for themselves. But yeah, so this is currently, again, only being used for news purposes, but it is expected to grow to other categories as it gets adopted and they start testing it out and seeing how many people are interested in using it and how it works specifically. But I think that's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. So the best part about all of this is that for the moment, this is purely an organic only opportunity. Many surveys have been conducted and voice assistants users really don't want ads. However, some were a bit more open to them as long as they were going to be extremely relevant and based on their own shopping behavior. Currently, voice assistant devices such as Google Home and Amazon's Alexa have extremely limited ad capabilities, but talks have been surfacing about opening up the paid search space on these devices. CNBC reported earlier in 2018 that Google has been pitching companies to create videos for a new how-to feature for its smart assistant. This how-to skill would provide videos with step-by-step instructions when a user asks how to do something. For example, Johnson & Johnson could create a video about how to bathe a baby, or Kraft could make a video with a recipe for their cheese fondue. The article said that while Google isn't launching this as an ad model yet, they are likely going to in the future. So the best line of defense that we can do right now is to do what we can to make sure that our site is optimized, all elements, so that we are winning the space here until paid search can get in.
Until Google decides to monetize the channel, and then we might have a bit of trouble. Right, so the clicks are free right now. The attention's free right now. It may not always be that way.
Yeah.
Got it. Got it. That's it. We're done.
Done.
Okay. Well, Alexis, thank you so much for kind of taking the time to talk to us today. Talk to me. I'm the only one here. Again, for everybody who's kind of receiving this download version, SEO Grail happens traditionally the first Wednesday of every month. When we have people who are local, we make it available through Elite SEM and other agencies that participate. Those video kind of downloaded versions of it, so you can kind of stay in touch and stay abreast. But I think that's, if nothing further, I think that wraps it up. That's pretty good.
Pretty good.
Pretty good. All right.
Cool. Thank you.
Thank you. So.